Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. We are back today for another eyeshadow palette review, and today we're going to be talking about the latest release from W7, which they have very kindly sent over to me. We're going to be talking about the brand new Tokyo Pressed Pigment eyeshadow palette. They have sent the entire collection, but I'm only going to be focusing on this today. I'm going to try the other products as part of a different video, but they've also sent along 5 glosses, a brush set, which I've never tried from them, and a loose powder. So if you want to see that video, I'm hoping that should be up soon. You guys know I've got scheduling issues at the moment. I will catch you up on that and let you know what's going on in my life. But if you haven't already, then do make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell, and that way YouTube will let you know as soon as that video comes out. Quick disclaimer before we jump into this video. Yes, W7 have sent me this in PR. However, they have not asked me to make this video. It isn't sponsored. I'm not getting any money from it. They don't even know that I'm making it. Also, something pretty exciting, W7 have given me a discount code for you guys to use, which is RAW10, and will give you 10% off of your orders. It's not an affiliate code. I don't make any money from it, but you guys know that I do love a bargain. So when W7 asked if we'd be interested in getting a code to share with our followers, I had to say yes. So if you guys would like to go and get yourself a bargain, you can use a RAW10 for 10% off your order. So I am going to be doing this video in my usual format. We're going to start off with the details of the palette. We're going to do some swatches, then I'll show you how I got this eye look, and then I'll give you my final thoughts on this palette. So let's jump straight in and discuss the details for this palette. So this is of course the W7 Tokyo Pressed Pigment palette, which, as we've already discussed, was released as part of a larger Tokyo inspired collection, which I believe was actually released last Friday on the same day as the opening ceremony for the Olympic Games. The packaging on this one is super cute. It is cardboard, but I think it might actually be one of my favorite palettes just in terms of the outer packaging that they've done. I think it's really cute. This is an 18 pan eyeshadow palette, so this is the same format as their Total Eclipse palette, which was a dupe for the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. However, as far as I'm aware, this is not a dupe for anything. Looking at it, it doesn't remind me of another palette. I think this is actually an original one. In terms of the price, we are at £19.95, which is a little bit more expensive than the Total Eclipse palette, which was £9.50. I assume this is because this one is a limited edition palette, so they've made it a little bit more expensive because they're just not making as many of it. We are, however, getting the exact same amount of product in there, which is 18 grams of shadow, so 1 gram exactly per eyeshadow, which gives us a cost per gram of 55p per gram. So again, a little bit pricier than some of the other palettes we've seen from W7 in the past. However, it is still extremely affordable. On the back, you can see that the palette is already absolutely filthy because I have already tried to film with it once. This is the second look that I've done with it, but the first one I just didn't really like. Sometimes that happens. As always, on the back we have our diagram showing all of the eyeshadows and then the corresponding formulas for each shade, and we have 3 formulas in this one: a matte formula, a metallic formula, and then 3 of the shadows are the more creamy formula, which we've encountered before. As this is a pressed pigment palette, we do as always have the warning listed on here that this is not intended for use on the eye area. Obviously, as you can see, I already have the shades on my eyes, but I would just be a little bit careful if you do have quite sensitive skin. And our shelf life after opening is 18 months. When we open up the palette, this is what it looks like inside. So again, this is the same format exactly as the Total Eclipse palette. We have a mirror at the top, and we have the double-ended brush, which you guys know I'm really not fussed about. And then these are the shades here, and the way this is organized speaks to me. I am in the camp of those that prefer organized palettes with eyeshadows that are just in random orders. They just don't do it for me. It doesn't get me inspired in any way. I know some people prefer it. We have all of our mattes in the row at the top, and as you can see, they are very neutral. We have 4 shades of brown, a grey, which is really nice to see in a palette, although I haven't used it yet, and a black, which is always handy to have in a palette to help you deepen up your looks. And then we have our 2 rows of metallics, which are organized in a lovely rainbow. So yeah, overall, this palette to me is just very pleasing to look at. That is it for the details of the palette. So now let's go straight into some swatches. All right, so I'm going to start off with the row of mattes first. We have Capsule. Pretty good match for my skin tone. I do like having a shade that I can use to soften out the eyeshadow into my skin, so pretty happy with that. Then next up is Sumo, Sardo, Onsen, Memory Lane, and Shibuya. I do actually think that these swatches are pretty nice for just a series of brown. These are pressed pigments, so I would expect these to swatch pretty well anyway, but I think they look quite nice. They form a really nice gradient. The black maybe looks like it's a little bit grey, so I'm thinking this might not be the best black. But other than that, in terms of the mattes, I think you can definitely do daytime and nighttime looks with this, you know, something more smoky, something more natural. So yeah, pretty happy with that first row. We're gonna move on to the metallics next. So first up is Emperor and Bonsai. These two just felt incredibly buttery, and Bonsai is so lovely. It's a green with some gold like micro glitters in it, so it gives it a gold shift. Very, very nice. Then we have Jaded. See, like Jaded in comparison is just not reflective at all. It definitely has like a gold reflex to it again, but it's a lot harder pressed. It's a lot harder to pick up. The top two just felt so much more buttery. Next up is Cherry. Then Golden Guy and Sensoji. Again, these ones were definitely not as buttery to pick up. You can see they're not quite as reflective as the first two, and also you can just see that there's a lot more fallout, I guess. Like there's just a lot more texture going on up here than in these three. Also, these two just look a little bit too similar to me. Like I know this one is darker, but I feel like we could have had something slightly different. It's a little bit too repetitive in my opinion. Next up we have two of our more creamy shades. So the first one is Kyoto Pearl. Okay, that is lovely though as far as swatches go. And Shinjuku Gyoen. I do hope I'm saying these kind of right. I realise my pronunciation is probably absolutely terrible, but look at how reflective these two are. I'm not a fan of the more creamy formula once it's on the eye, but it does look nice, it does look nice. Then we're back to our normal formula. We have Tatami. And then our three final shades, we have Okinawa, which just like the first two is just so much more buttery and a bit more reflective. Our third creamy shade, which is Harajuku. Again, look at how reflective that is. And then lastly we have Kimono. There you go. That is a very, very pretty rainbow of colours. Tatami, I can't really see on my skin tone. I had to make sure I didn't accidentally go over it. I do think that the colours are very, very pretty. Just some of them are a lot more reflective than others. Obviously ignoring the cream formula, which is always going to be more reflective. You know, I think Okinawa is beautiful, these two at the top, and a couple of these are just like, they're pretty colours, but they're almost a bit sad in comparison, and I think they are the same formula, so I wish they were just a little bit more equal. Just all of them just had a bit more shine basically. Anyway, that is it for the swatches, so I'm going to zoom you in now and we're going to go through the tutorial for this eye look. Alright guys, my eyes are primed as always with my PDW's base, and as you can see today I have done the lower lash line as well, and we're going to jump straight in the palette. Let's just get started. I'm going to take my Morphe M124 and I'm going to start off with the shade Onsen over here, and I'm just going to start as I always do, so above my crease. I'm just going to follow the shape around. I like to work with my eye open because it just allows me to place the colour in the right area for when I need to cut my crease later on. That first shade is going on pretty well, and then as I get to the end I'm going to come back and I'm going to drag it out. And then what I'm going to do is do my lower lash line at the same time. So again, just packing the colour on, and then I'm going to pull it backwards. And we're going to get these two to meet up. There we go, just like that. I've got a little bit of patchiness down here at the bottom. I'm just going to add a little bit more. And then I'm just going to take a clean Sigma E36 and I'm just going to blend that out slightly, not pulling the colour any further out or anything, just softening it out to make it easier to blend. Alright, right, not bad for the first color. I feel like that's looking pretty even. Definitely a little bit lighter on the wing than it is at the front, but that's just because I've gone in quite carefully while applying it. I didn't want to end up pulling the shape out too far or anything. So I'm going to jump into the next color, which is going to be this one, which is Sardo. And I'm taking a clean Sigma E36 for that. I'm just going to come in and start blending my first shade out. I'm just really taking my time here because I want a really nice sharp shape. And you can see it is blending it out. I did try and film with this palette on Tuesday, but I didn't really like how my look turned out. At the time when I was blending these two shades in together, I felt like I couldn't really see the difference between the two shades, but I feel like today I'm definitely noticing it a little bit more, like I can actually see a colour gradient there. And it's blending it out absolutely fine. No issues with blending whatsoever. But then I rarely have issues with the mattes in W7 palettes anyway. Alright, great so far, no issues at all. So I'm going to go into my next shade, which is going to be this one called Sumo. And this time I'm taking a Morphe M456. And just same thing again. I'm just going to blend. There we go, you can see this one is definitely standing out a bit more against the two other shades, and we're now getting a really nice gradient. And again, very easy to blend the three shades in together. Absolutely no issues at all. Just trying to make sure I get it up in a nice point at the end. Great, yeah, again, really happy with how that blend is looking so far. I don't really see any issues with it. I am just gonna go through my shades again, just from darkest to lightest, just to make sure it is perfectly even everywhere, that I've got that really nice gradient. So I'm just gonna do that really quickly and speed you guys through it. Alright, great. Again, absolutely no issues with blending here. I think the eyeshadows worked really well going back on top of one another. So I think that these are going to work pretty well going from darkest to lightest as well as lightest to darkest, depending on how you prefer to work. I am just quickly going to jump into a little bit of capsule on a clean M456. All I want to do is just soften up these edges. I do like this range of browns that they've put in. I think you can get a good smoky eye out of it. Alright, so that is it for my crease shades. I'm not going to deepen it up with the black today. I don't feel like it's going to work for the look that I'm going for, but I'm pretty happy with how that's come out overall. I do again think that you have a nice little selection of browns there. If you just wanted something really light, really natural, you've got that. If you want to deepen it up, make it a bit more smoky, you've got that as well. So yeah, pretty happy with the mattes. I'm just going to go and clean my eyelid up off camera, and then I'll come back and we can do the cut crease. Alright, so I've just carved out the shape that I'm going to be doing today. As you can see, I've just done the whole of my eyelid going into the wing. And now the first thing I'm going to do is use my blank canvas paint from P. Louise to fill the shape in. I'm just going to pat over that with a clean concealer brush, just because this is quite a thick product, so I want to get rid of any excess. And then I've picked up essentially a collection of flat eyeshadow brushes because I want to fill this in with as many colours as possible. So I am going to start off with the shade Emperor over here, which is the gold. And this one does pick up pretty well. Oh god, yeah, that's got loads of kickback in the pan actually. So that is going to go right at the front. Absolutely no issues picking that up or laying that colour down. Look at that. That's going on really, really well. Next to that one, I'm going to take the shade Bonsai, which looks stunning. Okay, I thought that was struggling to pick up, but actually no, once you kind of put a little bit more pressure on it, it seems to come loose and actually pick up quite well. Let's Oh, okay, this one is really pretty actually. It's a green that's got like, it looks like little micro glitters in gold. Very nice. Next to that, my next shade is going to be Okinawa, which is gorgeous. These ones aren't creamy, but they are pretty soft, so they do really crumble in the pan, but it's really pretty. It's not going on too thick on the eye or anything, and it is a very nice shade. Right, next to that, I'm just going to take a slightly shorter, kind of tougher brush. Is tougher the right word? It's just like a little bit less flexible than the others, just because I'm going to go into Harajuku, and Harajuku is one of the creamier shades. I don't know if you can see immediately, it's just crumbling so much more, and it would probably be better applied with a finger, but obviously with the shape that we're going for, not the easiest thing to do. So I'm going to pop that on here. You can see that's definitely not going on as pigmented as the others. Does need a bit of building up. And I can already see it's got a lot more texture to it. Again, it will just go on better with a finger. But once you do manage to build it up, it is pretty. I will give it that. I think this one will just work a bit better like all over the lid or on the inner corner. For a cut crease, I do find that this formula struggles a little bit. Then next, I'm going to go into Kimono over here. This is just back to the standard formula. I probably could have used a smaller brush. I'm not sure why I kept my widest brush to the end. That was a little bit silly. And then right at the end, I'm going to go into Sensoji over here, which is the red. I had a few issues picking this one up the other day. I do find it to be a little bit harder pressed. Yeah, I don't feel like it goes on quite as intense as the other ones. Okay, cool. I definitely feel like the three shades at the front are the strongest ones. They applied really, really easily. And then as we've gotten to the end, it's just been a little bit more of a struggle, really. I'm just gonna go through all of them quite quickly again, just to make sure they're all blended out in between each other.
Been on the streets a few months. I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love.
Alright, there we go. I'm just going to turn the brightness down because I feel like you guys aren't seeing the colours properly. You can see just how reflective the lighter of the two purples is. Yeah, again, I do feel like the first half of the eye is definitely the stronger half. I feel like those shades just picked up a lot better. They're a lot more reflective. I mean, it's the red in particular that I just wish was a bit more pigmented, was just a little bit more glittery, a little bit brighter. Again, I did feel like it wasn't picking up as well as the others, but we just get to the wing and it's just a bit like... bit meh. So I'm just... How long have I had this going on for? I've just realised I have no idea when that happened. Oh, it's from when I drank some water, because there's still... from the other day. Anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go and do the other eye off camera, and then I'll come back and we'll finish the eye look together. Alright guys, as you can see from this eye, apparently today I woke up and decided that I would make my life difficult. I've gone for a rainbow eyeliner that contrasts with the eyeshadow. So I'm gonna be using the shades Mellow, Ice Cream, Cool Mint, Polka Dot, and Orchid from Sheen Cosmetics, and I'm literally just gonna line the outside of my cut crease. That's it. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna zoom through it because it's probably gonna take me a while. Alright, next I'm going to add some eyeliner, so I'm just going to use my Inglot gel eyeliner as always, and I'm just going to line my lash line. I'm just connecting it up to the liners, and then I'm just going to go back into some more of Ice Cream and just cover up anywhere where the Inglot liner ended up over the top of the liners. Next up, I'm going to highlight my brow bone and my inner corner, and in an ideal world I would have done that with a shade from the palette. However, the shade that I wanted to use, which I did use when I tried to film the other day, is this one, Kyoto Pearl, and it looks like a white in the palette, but as you guys saw from the swatches, it is actually a duochrome. It's very pretty, but it's just not what I'm going for on the inner corner. I basically thought this would be a shade more similar to the one in the Total Eclipse palette, which is the dupe for the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde. Those ones have got a really pretty glittery white shade. I mean, this one is pretty, but it's just not what I'm going for. So of course I had to use my Pixie Liquid Fairy Lights in Crystalline, because you guys know I love it. It has appeared in so many videos at this point. So I'm just taking it on a Zoeva 231 and I just pack it on the inner corner, and look at how pretty and reflective that is. And then I'm also going to pop it on the brow bone. And then I'm going to finish off with the waterline. I'm going to use the shade Fresh from LA Girl. Alright, so that is it for the eyeshadow. I do really like how it turned out. I do think this is a really fun look. I do feel like maybe the shades at the front, which I was really excited about before, I feel like maybe they look a little bit dull now, but I don't know if that's just because I've added the liner, and obviously the liners are very bright. Other than that, I do really like how this is looking. I'm gonna go and finish off the rest of the look now, and when I come back, I will give you my final thoughts on the palette. Alright guys, here is the finished look. I hope as always that you like it. As always, everything that I've used will be listed in the link down below, and any affiliate links are clearly marked. I did end up using one of the glosses on my lips. This is the shade Sensu, and I have to say this is a really comfortable lip gloss. It's not like ultra glossy, ultra sticky. It's just really comfortable. So let's move on to my final thoughts on this palette. I think this one is super cute. I really do. I think it's just an all-round quite nice palette. It's not one of my favorites that W7 have ever done. You guys know that I just love my bright colors, so I will always gravitate more towards things like their Vivid palettes or their Mardi Gras. That's just really bright and really pigmented. And I think this is a really good one for someone who's maybe more of a beginner, because your mattes at the top are all very basic colors. There's nothing that's difficult to use there. No colors that are gonna, you know, be really hard to blend together. It's pretty basic. The black I haven't actually properly used yet, but from the swatch I think it isn't going to be a really good one. But sometimes I do think that's easier to use as a beginner rather than like a really pigmented black where things can get a little bit out of control. And then you do have a really good range of metallics, so I think you can keep your crease really basic and then just have a pop of color, a shimmer all over the lid. You know, something just really nice and easy to use. I do still kind of wish that this one was more of just a white. It is a very pretty duochrome, but you know, if I had to change something, it probably would be that. And also in my swatches, I did find that Cherry and Golden Guy looked very similar. Again, I haven't used them on the eye, but I feel like maybe we could have had something a little bit more different in there. I do think as well that some of the shades could maybe be a little bit more exciting. You guys know that sometimes I think metallics, they've kind of been done, and if they're not super reflective, they're not super interesting. The green Bonsai is definitely one of the more interesting shades. Same with Okinawa. I just thought it was a bit of a shame that Kimono and Sensoji just struggled a bit more to apply, and they're just not as reflective, just not as interesting. So I do feel like a couple of these shades could maybe have been made just a little bit more interesting, just a little bit more sparkly, and I'd be a lot more excited about this. But again, I think that if you are someone who is getting started with makeup, you want to dip your toes into color, you don't want anything that's going to be difficult to use, I think you are the target audience for this palette. I think that this is a good beginner one. It's got a little bit of everything, and if you can get it when it's on offer, or if you end up finding it in somewhere like B&M and it's half price, then you've got a pretty good deal on your hands. So that is it for today's video, guys. I do hope as always that you enjoyed it. If you did, then do please make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Leave me a comment letting me know what you thought of it. And if you haven't already, then do please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And I'll see you all on the next one. Bye, guys.